Despite its independence in 1804, Haiti has remained attached to France, its former colonizer, which has influenced the political, education, economic, and social system of the Caribbean country. With the U.S. occupation in 1915, the American culture and language became more present in Haiti. Then after the 2010 earthquake, the number of American organizations established in Haiti has increased tremendously. Can these organizations influence the Haitian culture? Here to discuss the Americanization of Haitian culture are Sandy Dorsainville, the manager of the Little Haiti Cultural Complex. Sandy was born and raised in Haiti. She is also a board member of HAPSI, a co-producer of this program. And George Bossou, the executive director of World in Action. George was born and raised in Haiti. Thank you both for being in the program. Well, the question is what it is. Can these American organizations and businesses can influence and change the Haitian culture? Sandy.
Well, first I have to say I was born and raised here in the States, in New York. In New York. So I'm sorry about that confusion. But of course they're going to influence. I think the U.S. influences everyone. Where the fact that there are so many NGOs in Haiti, I think it's doesn't really affect the amount of influence there is, because Americans influence everyone. They influence the Western Hemisphere. It's just, that's the world we live in right now with globalization and with media and with the internet. The American reach is so far right now. So I don't know if they're influencing Haitian culture any more so than they're influencing culture in Japan or in Russia or in Africa right now. I just think it's a question of how much of it we're going to absorb and keep.
And George, how much will absorb and keep, as you just said?
Well, it's the sad fact that, yes, the American culture is influencing basically every culture. However, you find some other cultures that are really resistant to it in holding their integrity. Even here in the United States, you have subculture that are really fighting to keeping their own culture. For example, the Irish are doing the exact same thing. The Cubans, the Jewish are doing the exact same thing. So what you don't want to happen is the extinction of your own culture. The influence could still be there because it's a powerful economy. However, as a nation, you have a duty to uphold your own culture, because the Americans themselves would want that. When they travel to Haiti, they want to discover the beautiful culture of Haitians. But when you become overpowered, and it's another form of colonization, because from political colonizations, you have the cultural colonization, which would be very, very sad if that were to occur.
Can we say that we have a Haitian culture when everything that from our belief, our education, the way we behave, the way we dress up is from French, a heritage of French colonization?
I think very much like any Caribbean nation that was colonized by several different European countries, what makes Haiti Haiti is that melting pot of the Taino Indians, combined with the French influence, combined with the Spanish influence, and then of course that American, the time that U.S. spent in Haiti. That's what makes us Haitian. And of course, I couldn't forget Africa. It's the combination of all those things. It's almost like myself when I visited New Orleans recently with my son. We were speaking Creole to each other, and someone walking by, an American girl, but her family's Creole, she understood a little bit of what she said, what I was saying to my son. And I said to her, I was excited. I was like, oh, you're Haitian. She says, no, I'm not Haitian. I'm from New Orleans, but my family's Creole. And she understood pieces of what I said. Why? Because some of the words had some French undertones and had some of the dialect, I guess, of African dialect that was mixed in that phrase. She understood. So it's not really a question of, I think that's what makes us unique, and that's what makes every Caribbean islands unique. When you go to Trinidad, you have that mixture of that Indian culture mixed with the African, mixed with the English. When you go into Jamaica, you'll have a different combination. That's what makes the Caribbean islands interesting, and that's what makes us distinctive from other nations that have did not have that experience, did not have so many different countries play such a big role in the development of their history.
Well, I think that we do have an identity, and the biggest challenge that we have in Haiti is to actually not uphold that identity. For example, this conversation that we're having here now, had we agreed on what makes Haitians, what the core of a culture. We were raised to reject some aspect of our culture, to embrace some other culture. For example, we were forced to speak French and to behave in French as we're growing up. Right now there's a movement of Croilization, which I have a little challenge with, but what's happening here is those influence. I can understand our attachment to French because part of our history is been written by the French people because they colonized us. We also were occupied by the Americans. I understand that, but we also as a nation have to come to the realization of defining who we are as a culture. Without that, you would still have a problem when it comes to development, because somebody without a cultural identity would be very hard to invest in an environment where they don't feel part of. They don't have, in essence, the sense of belonging in that culture. And that's what we've been seeing in Haiti. And even here, they detach to that culture because they don't know how to define them. They think that they're French. They think that they're African. They think that they're... As a matter of fact, we tend to define ourselves based on some other culture instead of being Haitians. For example, Frederick Douglass said in 1893 in Chicago, and let me read for you. He said, "It is alleged Haiti is more cordial to French than the United States. It is partly because Haiti is herself French, her language is French, her literature is French, her manners and fashions are French, her ambition and aspiration are French, her laws and methods of government are French, her priesthood and her education are French, her children are sent to school in France, and their minds are filled with French ideals and French glory." This is a very, very compelling thing to understand. And Frederick Douglass was saying that 90 years after Haitian independence. So now, if we don't come to understand, to redefine who we are, and to build a nation, because what we have now, in my sense, is a country. It's a piece of land. But the nation of Haiti, where we all could have the same aspiration, the same culture, the same understanding of each other, the same mentality, is not there, because after our independence, our educational system was not even Haitian until today. We don't have an Haitian educational system. You have a European or French educational system because this has been set right after independence by the French people who were colonizing it.
You brought a very important aspect of what I can say how Haitian fighting to preserve their culture and to identify themselves. But we can see now that Haitian are in limbo between the heritage of French colonization and now the influence of American culture in this, and especially when you see the importance of the Haitian diaspora in the U.S. How this will affect the future of the country, the next generation, from French to American?
I think it's a false issue. I think what makes culture is a combination of music, food. It's a way that people live. Mm-hmm. It's not a thing. It's a description. And I don't think it's necessary to force any particular person or group or a nation to identify to one thing. If that was the case, then Americans would be British. Everything in America is based on an English system of government because that's who first colonized the Americas, the United States to be specific. So I'm completely okay with that French influence. The question is, how do you interpret it to suit your needs as a country? Haiti, for example, has those African influences, and you see it because the French we speak, I spent 11 days in Paris last year. The French that came out of my mouth was distinctly different from the French that was spoken in Paris. Did the French understand what I was saying? Yes, they did. But did I have a different dialect? Did I have a different tonation? Did I have a different style and presence about myself? Of course I did. Number one, because I'm American with a very thick accent. And then number two, because I'm speaking a Haitian French. Is that a bad thing? It is not. I think that's the conversation we really need to be having. It's not a conversation of whether or not what we've acquired from these other nations are good or bad. It's whether or not what we're going to do with those things. Are we going to teach our students different languages so that they can survive in this big global world that we're in right now, where you need to speak more than one language to communicate, to make money, to be profitable? Those are the things I think the conversation needs to be focused on. The history of it all, I think that's what makes us an interesting group, and that's what adds layers and textures to our culture and our history. But what we do with that history and how we interpret it and how we use it to our benefit is what's really going to propel people to move forward. And that's what's going to propel our students to move forward. I think spending a lot of time dissecting what was and what could have been, I think is fruitless. I think accepting what has already happened, what is obvious and apparent, and then saying, okay, you went to school, and you're learning to speak French at school, you speak Creole at home, and you're taking English classes. All right, wonderful. You speak 3 different languages now. How are you going to use that to be into your benefit? Are you going to go into hospitality management because knowing 3 languages helps you with tourists? Are you going to go into telecommunications because if you run a telecommunications plant, knowing 3 languages will help you? Like, it's using all the things that make us distinct and different to our advantage.
I too somehow, I agree partly with what you're saying, but I mostly disagree with not paying attention to your cultural identity. I think it's totally I wouldn't say absurd not to do that, because when you look at it, the Americans are even influenced by British because they've been colonized by British. They came from England. They fight to keep the American culture.
It's not a fight,
no, they keep it. They keep it, and
they know how to preserve
they
it.
Know how to
preserve.
They
I don't
keep
think
it
it's something that's
and they preserve
intentional.
it. Today, for example, if you go to Lincoln Center, they have the entire week on Frank Sinatra. They tend to keep the American culture. For example, the other day I was reading an argument by some people from Congress and saying that they don't want their Congress to be like the British Congress. They don't want their system of government to be like the British. Even there is some influence, but they define who they are. That's why you have the sense of patriotism. This is what's gonna make you feel you belong. Since the kids was born in the United States, they know about the heroes. They know about the history. They know about their national anthem. That in itself would allow them to invest in that environment without having a sense of identity. And understanding that it's going to be very hard for you.
Do you think both that we need to have that conversation more about preserving which strategy to apply to preserve the Haitian culture, Sandy?
Of course, and I'm not disagreeing at all with what he's saying. I definitely think there needs to be, your cultural identity needs to be important. What I'm saying is that that identity is something that occurs naturally, and that there needs to be an effort made to preserve what is happening naturally, not to create a false identity.
Effort from the state,
it has to be. It's a top. Unfortunately, this is one of those top-bottom situations where the state or the Republic of Haiti has to invest in its students and put civics into education into their schools, and include social education and social justice, and make that part of their curriculum. So there is that buy-in, there is that love of country, love of self.
But what you said also, and again, I would go to counter with that.
Yeah, only 30 seconds.
Okay, cultural identity doesn't happen by itself. It is something that you condition into. They teach you about your culture. This is how you develop your identity. Other than that, you're just gonna go, attach to anything. You could attach to a rock, to a trees. They teach you that from.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have to end the program. Thank you for watching us. Thank you both for being in the program. Well, the question is what it is. Can these American organizations and businesses can influence and change the Haitian culture? Cindy?
Well, first I have to say, I was born and raised here in the States, in New York. In New York. So I'm sorry about that confusion. But of course they're going to influence. I think the U.S. influences everyone. Where the fact that there are so many NGOs in Haiti, I think it's...
absorb and keep, as you just said.
Well, it's the sad fact that, yes, the American culture is influencing basically every culture. However, you find some other cultures that are really resistant to it in holding their integrity. Even here in the United States, you have subculture that are really fighting to keeping their own culture. For example, the Irish are doing the exact same thing. The Cubans, the Jewish are doing the exact same thing. So what you don't...
Tremendously. Can these organizations influence the Haitian culture? Here to discuss the Americanization of Haitian culture are Cindy Dorsainville, the manager of the Little Haiti Cultural Complex. Cindy was born and raised in Haiti. She is also a board member of HAPSI, a co-producer of this program. And George Bossou, the executive director of World in Action. George was born and raised in Haiti.
It doesn't really affect the amount of influence there is because Americans influence everyone. They influence the Western Hemisphere. It's just, that's the world we live in right now with globalization and with media and with the internet. The American reach is so far right now. So I don't know if they're influencing Haitian culture any more so than they're influencing culture in Japan or in Russia or in Africa right now. I just think it's a question of how much of it we're going to absorb and keep.
And George, how much will... Despite its independence in 1804, Haiti has remained attached to France, its former colonizer, which has influenced the political, education, economic, and social system of the Caribbean country. With the U.S. occupation in 1915, the American culture and language became more present in Haiti. Then after the 2010 earthquake, the number of American organizations established in Haiti has increased